I want to try something new today, so today we're going to talk about some superheroes, but the scary versions of them. I'm your host Andrew, and today we're going to talk about the top 10 scary superhero variants. At number 10 spot, we have the Man Spider. If you can imagine if the Pokemon Machamp had a baby with an extraterrestrial, you would have the Man Spider. So this abomination was shown both in the comics and an animated series in the 1990s, and is far from what anyone thought Peter Parker would look like in the future. This all started when Dr. Connors analyzed Spider-Man's DNA and found that instead of thinking he gained all these new superpowers, it was only part of a full transformation. That full transformation being that he turned into a whole spider-human hybrid. After Dr. Mariah Crawford gave Spidey what he thought was a cure, it turned out to only accelerate his transformation, and at this point he would grow 4 more arms and his face would be far from human. The worst part is that this mutation was only corrupting his mind further on. He was slowly losing his human feelings and his own memories. So on his journey back to human form, Spider-Man would encounter a mutated Michael Morbius and Punisher, who gave the mutated Spider-Man a dose of humanity, which was his sense of heroism. From all of this commotion, Spider-Man was able to get back to normal, except he would be under special 24-hour treatment from Dr. Connor to ensure this abomination never came out again. At a number 9 spot, we have the Immortal Hulk. This version of Hulk is by far the most horrific and surprising we've seen from the Marvel Comics. This variant is a result of Bruce Banner and the Hulk having been through countless deaths and rebirths. So for those who don't know, gamma radiation gave Hulk these powers in the first place and is produced by the One Below All. So gamma infused creatures eventually will pass through this big green door when they just passed and are about to be resurrected. So in these comics, it's revealed that Bruce's dad, Brian Banner, took his soul to the below place and fused it with the One Below All. The reason they did this was because they believed that their partnership could bring the below place up on Earth. Once they fused, Brian had all the powers and abilities of the One Below All, so he went out to find Hulk in order to use his body. But instead, Hulk would bring out his own army into the below place and take out the leader's life. And what makes this version of Hulk even more intimidating, at number 8 spot, we have the Darkhold Black Bolt. So if you watched the most recent Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, you have been introduced to not only the Darkhold, which is what makes Wanda so evil, but also the leader of the mutants, Black Bolt. We saw how destructive Black Bolt's voice is and how destructive the Darkhold can be. Now imagine these two are mixed together and we have one of the most overpowered and terrifying mutants ever. The Darkhold, aka the Book of the Damned, is an ancient book that contains some of the most evil yet powerful magic in the world. And although it's very powerful, it has the ability to corrupt the minds of anyone who chooses to take its power. This issue really showed how lonely Black Bolt truly is. His discipline was lying in his family and other mutants, but what really stands out is his tragedy. He's a leader without a regular voice, and this comes at a price. It's because he cannot voice his own objections, and when it comes down to trusting others, he has a very hard time to do so. Number 7 spot, the Batman that laughs. This one is pretty much well known now, but this variant is so terrifying I couldn't leave it out of this list. The Batman who laughs, or the Darkest Knight, is the version of Bruce Wayne in Earth 22, except in this universe he successfully managed to kill the Joker. Except with the Joker having many tricks up his sleeve, he managed to release and expose the Batman to nanotoxin, which would slowly transform Bruce's mind into the Joker's. As time went on, the Batman would lose his moral compass and begin to kill most of his enemies and even allies, instead of using his more peaceful means. He would also turn his son into a mini Joker and would begin to release more nanotoxin in order to recruit an army he named the Rabid Robins. Although he lost his morality, Batman managed to keep his intellect. However, when you combine a person with no morality and a person who is all smarts, you'll just get any corrupt leader in history. After he took over the universe, he, with the help of his master Barbados, made it a goal to cause destruction and darkness all over the multiverse. Here he would absorb the powers of Dr. Manhattan and be reborn as the Darkest Knight, who basically has the powers of a god. At number 6 spot, we have Zombie Spider-Man. Spider-Man is back on this list, but I promise you this version of him definitely deserves a spot. Introducing Earth 2149. This is the universe where a zombie outbreak basically took over the entire world, including the majority of superheroes. It all started when a version of the Sentry from another universe practically brought a disease with him that turns individuals into a flesh-eating zombie. And after Sentry landed in New York, the Avengers were the first to encounter him and become zombies after he bit them. Spider-Man was caught up in this ordeal and ended up being bit by Colonel America, which is basically Captain America but 3 ranks ahead. After this happened, he went straight to Aunt May and Mary Jane to get them out of the city, except except his hunger for human flesh had already grown, and out of nowhere, he would eat both of them. Right in the humbler list, we have Bizarro. Bizarro is the original version of evil Superman. Bizarro was created by Lex Luthor in an attempt to make someone who can match the power of Superman. However, the cloning experiment fails and Bizarro becomes a disfigured monster with the complete opposite powers of Superman, yet he is still powerful. For example, instead of heat vision from Superman, Bizarro uses freeze vision. This also includes his freeze breath too. Bizarro's lack of intelligence often leads him to be manipulated by Luthor and others into doing evil deeds, so he's not inherently bad, just had very bad influences. Sounds like a lot of us watching. Since he's a Walmart version of Superman, he seems fairly innocent on the surface, but he is capable of extreme violence and destruction when provoked. Many compared Bizarro to Frankenstein because he isn't a true villain, but was just led on a bad path. At number 4 spot, we have Hydra Supreme. Imagine if Captain America was a project of Hydra rather than a project of Stark Industries. This would introduce the antagonist of the issue, Secret Empire, Hydra Supreme. In this universe, a young skinny Steve Rogers met with Hydra and joined the group after Daniel Whitehall or the Kraken convinced him to embrace the fact that the weak needed ruling, and he was the one capable to do so. After he became a super soldier and was revered a hero from the war, he would go on to become the Sentinel of Liberty for the US, all while secretly giving Hydra confidential information. Basically, their own little spy guy. His goal was to have Hydra control the entire world, but at the end of the issue, it was revealed that Hydra Steve was not the real Steve, and that the real one is actually trapped inside of a cosmic cube. Eventually, he would be rescued and would go on to defeat his evil counterpart. At number 3 spot, we have the disciple of Dormammu. In the first Doctor Strange movie, we are introduced to Dormammu. Although we are given a funny interaction with Strange constantly using the Time Stone, Dormammu is much more than what we saw. It is an interdimensional entity who rules over the dark dimension where time essentially doesn't exist. He infects planets with a dark dimension, promising eternal life. However, by the end of their interaction with Doctor Strange, he eventually leaves Earth due to this never-ending time loop set by the Time Stone. So what if Doctor Strange was a disciple of the dark dimension? What would happen? In this issue of What If, Doctor Strange joins Dormammu after Baron Mordo is the one to heal his hands. Using the powers of the dark dimension, Strange and Dormammu set off to fight against powerful beings such as the Ancient Ones, along with all their followers. And to make things worse, this version of Strange would go on to kill Mordo after Dormammu convinced him that only one disciple was needed. At number 2 spot, we have Maestro. This is basically the evil version of Hulk, and if we knew anything of what the Hulk is capable of, we know this variant is just complete madness. Maestro is a version of Hulk from an alternate future timeline and resides on Earth 9200. He possesses both Bruce Banner's intelligence and the Hulk's strength, except he's a lot more aggressive considering the things he's seen and been through. In this universe, a nuclear war nearly managed to wipe out all superhumans except for Hulk and a few others who were saved by AIM. After the radiation leaked into his system, Hulk developed an increasingly hatred of humanity for what they did to the world, and also the radiation caused his power level to shoot straight up, basically making him one of the most strongest Hulk variants. He would go on to kill the remaining superheroes and become the leader of Earth's last cities, Dystopia. Number 1 spot, we have Red Sun Superman. Red Sun, written by Mark Millar, is one of the most well-known alternative takes on the DC universe purely for its cleverness. The premise is simple. Instead of crashing into Kansas, Superman crashes into the Soviet Union. While the main storyline Superman only defends the world, the Red Sun version helps push the Soviet Union into wealth and prosperity. Everything in this timeline has changed due to the change in location. For example, Lex Luthor becomes the president of the United States and launches a state-sponsored assault on the Supes. Superman eventually defeats Lex Luthor's Green Lantern Marine Corps, the Amazonians, and other metahumans. Another main difference is that this version of Superman is not Kryptonian. Instead, he comes from Earth from a distant future and not from another planet. So basically, he is Superman with no weaknesses since Kryptonian has no effect on him, and the USSR has them. Great. Well, these are the top 10 scary superhero variants. What do you guys think about this list? Should we do more superhero stuff? Let us know in the comment below. Like and subscribe. I'm your host Andrew, and I hope you have a scary day.